What would you do if you won the lottery? I'm pretty sure that's a question everyone has asked themselves at least once. With that said, some people have more money than any lottery winner ever could, and they find new ways to spend it every single day. You know the phrase, what do you buy for the person who has everything? Well, we're looking into the answers today by counting down the top 5 most expensive things billionaires have ever wasted money on. A halfway across the world haircut. Haircuts are one of those things that either cost a lot of money or none at all. It just depends on how much cash you're willing to spend. The thing is, this guy didn't just look for the most expensive hairdresser he could find. He also made things even more expensive for no reason, by flying that hairdresser halfway across the world. Here's the story. This sultan took a long time to find a barber who could cut his hair just right, and once he found him, he wasn't letting him go. The trouble is, that hairdresser lived in London, and the sultan obviously didn't. So what did he do? He decided to personally fly him out first class every time he needed a touch-up, and pay $20,000 for the privilege every single time. It might sound crazy, but he decided that nobody could cut his hair to the same standard, and obviously royalty doesn't travel. So it had to be the hairdresser who came to him. Still, that's a pretty good salary for a haircut that takes less than an hour to complete, even if you have to close your shop for the weekend just to fly over and do it. Steve Cohen's 14-foot preserved shark. It's a cliche to talk about eccentric billionaires, but it really doesn't get more eccentric than Steve Cohen. I mean, this guy has made billions working as a hedge fund manager, and since then, he's come up with some crazy ways to spend his money. This list is far too short to go into all of them, but the weirdest is probably the time he bought the carcass of a shark to display in his office. I'm dead serious. In 2004, he purchased a piece of modern art called The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living, which was actually just a 14-foot tiger shark preserved in alcohol and formaldehyde. Originally, the piece was sold for $93,000, but over the years, its value has only increased. In fact, the price that Cohen paid was probably closer to $8 million, and it could have been anywhere up to 12. If that sounds like a pointless purchase to you, then it's about to get better. Because the art is actually massively expensive to maintain. The alcohol mixture has to be constantly replenished to keep the shark from wasting away. And even doing that isn't enough to stop it from slowly rotting over time. Prince Awali bin Talal's Airbus A380 Flying Palace. Now, if you're a celebrity with a fair bit of money, there are 2 things you've probably considered buying. The first is some kind of super expensive private jet, and the second is a fleet of sports cars. However, if you're way richer than the average celebrity, and by that I mean if you're a member of the Saudi Arabian royal family, then you can do one better. You can build a hybrid of the two. Well, not exactly, but close enough. Prince Awali bin Talal had a super jumbo jet built, which he calls his Flying Palace, and it definitely lives up to its name. Aside from being the biggest passenger plane in the world, this double-decker aircraft has some mad upgrades, including space for his 2 Rolls-Royces and his horses to ride alongside him. Those upgrades mean the already expensive plane hit some high heights price-wise too, coming in at a cool $500 million. That's already pretty crazy, but it gets worse, because the prince got bored of his new toy before the upgrades were even completed. Instead, he sold it to an undisclosed buyer, and there's no guessing how much money he received in exchange for that. Bill Gates' Scientific Scribbles by Leonardo da Vinci. So when it comes to billionaires, Bill Gates is actually one of the more responsible ones. I mean, he spends most of his massive fortune on welfare projects around the world, and he donates even more of that to charity every year. With that said, no one can resist splurging on a purchase every now and again. And when you're as rich as Bill Gates, those purchases can get pretty big. So what did Gates indulge in? Well, it's something super cool, but also pretty geeky, just like him. The tech mastermind spent over $30 million on a one-of-a-kind historical artifact, a 72-page journal that belonged to Leonardo da Vinci. The manuscript is full of his original notes, which include everything from ideas for new inventions to sketches and diagrams, and even original writings about science and the world. Obviously, it's a valuable item, but it's pretty unclear why Bill would want to keep it on a shelf instead of in a museum. Maybe he wants to decode the notes and build some of Da Vinci's original inventions for himself, which is a pretty worthy goal if you ask me. Clive Parker's Titanic Replica. I know there's such a thing as history geeks, but this last purchase takes that obsession to a whole other level. I mean, plenty of millionaires have yachts, and some have even gone so far as to purchase entire cruise ships. But no one has ever taken it as far as this guy. Australian politician and businessman Clive Parker woke up one morning and decided to recreate the Titanic as a working ship, right down to the spiral staircase in the center. The ship, which he originally called the Titanic II, has been updated for modern travel needs. But aside from that, it's an exact replica. Such a project was a massive undertaking for everyone involved. And as a result, it cost a minimum of $425 million to make. Honestly though, with research, materials, and construction costs, it probably came closer to the higher estimate of $567 million. As if that wasn't enough, prices to sail on the ship for its maiden voyage have yet to be announced, but the estimates don't look pretty. According to some sources, bidders have offered to pay over $1 million just for a ticket. Thankfully, there are enough lifeboats to go around this time. That was our list of the top 5 most expensive things billionaires have wasted money on. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a video in the future. And hit the like button too so we can hit the golden like of 1,000.